Apple just dropped a financial bombshell. Wall Street was not ready at the time, but if you know how to read the signs, this might be one of the biggest trade setups of this quarter. We're starting to have some interest in Apple stock. You can take a look here that we're going to be potentially trading it as we started covering it pretty heavily last week. And if you guys ever want to see our live sessions and surround yourself with other like minded investors and traders, it's that second link in below in the description if you want to see our entries and our exits. When it comes down to Apple stock, they've had this trend start to develop that over the last year has been holding really true. And one thing to note is that Berkshire Hathaway recently changed leadership. I don't know if you guys know, but officially, you can look at it, but Warren Buffett is no longer going to be the CEO. Just happened a day ago, Warren Buffett steps down. However, it's interesting, you have the replacement coming in here with Abel, but at the same time, just at the end of this era, Warren Buffett came out with one of his key buy signals in the markets, actually stating that he's looking for influx of cash into the markets, as a lot of people have notoriously been covering that he's been holding, what is it, 250 billion or something like that, ready to put into the market. And with this recent sell-off, apparently one of his buy signals are indicating that he is going to be investing more. And what are some of the biggest positions and companies that Berkshire Hathaway holds? That's right, Apple stock. Now, on top of that, you start to look at the analysis, three-part analysis. The chart right now is starting to continue this uptrend. And then if we really take a look down to, take a step back here, you'd see it bounced at this 200-day moving average, this green line. And oftentimes, those are the times when we are looking for entry points. And we start covering it here as it started to bounce, starting to recover here, start to see it maybe push up. And the margin for profit, if it continues these levels, would be about a 27% increase. So from a chart perspective, it looks like it has a little bit less risk potentially. The overall uptrend looks quite good. And it's starting to bounce on that 200-day moving average, which could indicate some forward momentum. So overall, from an entry standpoint, it actually looks like something that we potentially will be trading here at market open as we start the week. And then on top of that, if you take a look, one of the questions I just got from Mono, one of our stock mates that's in our daily live sessions, he shot me a text, as you can communicate with me anytime, and he said, hey, which is the best 2x leverage Apple daily target? A lot of times I'll trade AAPX. You can see AAPX does mimic that of Apple. If you take a look back here, 1 hour, start to see this trend. So when Apple started to recover, really starting back here mid-April, while it recovered about 20% on the actual stock, AAPX recovered 56%. So we'll be watching there as well. And that might be the position that we would end up trading if we're going to be holding, or let's say entering a position on Apple this week. And also just to note kind of this trend that's starting to happen here since the recovery, while we're starting to see some of the market heat up a bit, you can see this level right here, and maybe we start to see this trend play out up to that $23 a share on AAPX, which would be about a 25% increase. But that's just the technicals and the chart. The RSI, the MACD, may be looking more like a buy, indicating more of a buy that has got our attention right now. Then we head over to Apple from a perspective of their news. And one of the biggest things with their news, obviously you have maybe more influx from Berkshire Hathaway, as right now is the time when they're looking to buy. But at the same time, you have them move their manufacturing. Take the look, Apple announced earlier this year in quarter one, Apple spending $500 billion in the US over the next 4 years to build infrastructure, teams, and facilities in Michigan, Texas, California, Arizona, Nevada, Iowa, Oregon, North Carolina, and Washington. Plans include a new factory in Texas, doubling the U.S. Advanced Manufacturing Fund, a manufacturing academy, and accelerated investments in AI and silicon engineering, so their own chips as well. So that's going to be something, a lot of the systems that they're looking to implement will come from some of the best manufacturing that they use in other countries when they've built their factories. For example, maybe it's in India or in China, that they're now going to implement those same type of manufacturing capabilities and productivity into some factories in the US more prevalently. So more factories building in the US means more spend, and most likely will put them in a good position. If tariffs are volatile, they're still going to be able to, have their manufacturing in the US and not be affected. Now, on top of that, you got AAPL. Let's actually jump into a new tab here, APL. So that's the news. I'd say it's fairly good. They have a lot of earnings that recently came out, and you actually have some of the Apple, Buffett talking about here with Apple as one of the main companies that they will continue to invest in, and I think that's a pretty good indicator. The financials, though, when you look at the financials, a lot of people are saying Apple kind of sold off after earnings or what have you. But take a look. Their revenue is up 5% year over year. Net income's up about 5% as well. And their net in cash is up 73%. When you look at the quarter over quarter growth, we're still seeing a little bit of volatile revenue, but really holding between 94 billion and 124 billion, which, as you can see, is green, 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 and they're continuing to grow. And their revenues were up on the iPhones, on the iPads, on the MacBooks, but was slightly down on some of their service revenues. Maybe that's their, iPhone service and maybe warranty, things like that. It was down just a little bit, about $500 million, but overall they saw $1 billion or more increase on each one of those categories, like the MacBook, the iPad, and what have you. So they're still continuing to see the sales. So as we move from Apple, you look at the chart, then you get into the news. It looks fairly good, and you get into the financials, continuing to do what Apple does and look pretty solid there. Then we're looking at this move right here, and this is what we're going to be watching at market open on Monday and seeing if it really holds this pattern. Again, it's right above that moving average. It is starting to maybe begin an uptrend after a huge sell-off that we saw back in this market correction. And so if we start to see a recovery, a V-shaped pattern, we're talking about some serious gains that could be had in Apple stock. So we'll be watching it very closely. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed. If you have any questions or concerns or things you're thinking about Apple stock, comment them down below. And at the same time, if you guys want to join us live at Market Open, learn how to invest in AI, quantum, and space stocks, it's that second link below to join us in Stockmates at Market Open each and every day. But we'll be going live tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we go live each day at Market Open, so would love to have you there. Thanks so much for watching. If I earned your thumbs up, hit the like button. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.